What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be doing a video requested by one of you guys. Actually, I recently asked you on Instagram what sort of videos you'd like to see. I was planning out my content for the month and somebody requested that I do a mock budget of what our budget looked like before we started our debt-free journey. And I really like this idea because I did a video not too long ago titled Our Failed Debt-Free Journey Before YouTube, and I was basically showing you guys what our debt balances were back in 2018. And so I was able to go through my files and find a budget from 2018 as well. So what I did is I took that budget and I put it into our current budget spreadsheet, so it's like in a familiar kind of format for you guys, and to just show you guys what our budget looked like back then compared to now. And actually it's very, very interesting to look back and see this because it is so close to what we do now in certain ways, but it's totally different in like a really important way. So I'll show you guys what I mean in just a second. If you like this budget spreadsheet that I'm using I do have it available for purchase in my shop. It's linked in the video description. It comes with a detailed video tutorial and me every month showing you guys how I use it for my family budget. It's an instant download to Google Sheets, and so you can download it, get started working on it right away. So like I said, it'll be linked in the video description if you want to check it out. Okay, so this is our budget for March 2018. First of all, let me just show you that it's not a zero-based budget. Like, as much as I thought I was doing zero-based budgeting, I wasn't. I was just, you know, getting kind of close. It was pretty common that we would end the month negative or off by several $100s. This month was only like $91 that we were off, but this never happens now. At the end of the month, we know where every single dollar went. And I hope one day in the future we won't need to track everything so carefully, but for right now, while we're only a couple years into changing our financial lives and adopting better practices, I feel like we need that strict like zero-based budget. So we weren't doing zero-based budgeting before, and you can tell right here because the budgeted amount left to budget is negative $91 and left to spend actual is negative $91. Okay, so net income actually was pretty good in 2018. We had $9,350 come in that month. That was me and my husband both working 9-to-5s, and now I quit my 9-to-5 and I'm just making money from YouTube, and we are making about that much. After I go through this whole budget, I'm going to compare it to our September 2021 budget just to show you guys. Oh, and the other thing is, before I get into like the whole budget, the budgeted and the actual are exactly the same. So I had a budgeted column and an actual column, but at the end of every month they were exactly the same. So I must have adjusted the budgeted to match the actual. I don't know what I did, but it's impossible to have every single month those two columns end up the same. And I feel like it's important not to change the budgeted column. Like, I have a budgeted column here, and then over here in the fixed expenses section I've got a budgeted column and an actual column, and over here there's budgeted and actual. And it's because you want to see the difference between what you budgeted for and what you actually spent. Like, how realistic is your budget? Is your budget working? Do you need to make adjustments? If you just have the budgeted column and the actual column the same every single month, you're not going to see how you're misplanning for your month, because you're not going to see what you had originally planned because you changed that. So anyway, we weren't doing that. That's another budgeting tip that like I highly recommend. When you budget before the month starts. Put it in the budgeted column, and then as you actually go through the month, put it in the actual column. What do you actually spend? And then compare the two at the end of the month so you can see what's happening. Okay, so but we had $100 going into savings, $100 going to my husband's IRA, and $100 going to my Roth IRA. So it's not bad. I mean, like, let me just show you. For September 2021, we have, let's see, total income of $9,000, and pay yourself first, this yellow savings section of $300, but we had $1,500 come out pre-tax out of my husband's paycheck for retirement contributions. So we really put $1,800 towards savings and retirement, whereas in this section we're only putting $300 out of the $93.50 that we get of our net pay. So that's probably like what, 11,000 gross, 300 out of 11,000 gross. We're probably putting around like 2 or 3% of our total pay to any sort of savings goals, and 100 of that is a savings account, not even retirement. So that's not great. That's how we got really behind on retirement, because we were not putting as much to retirement as we should have. But that's because we couldn't afford it, and you'll see why here in just a second. So these are our debts at that point. My husband had a car loan and I had a car loan. we had my husband's undergraduate school student loans, and then grad school student loans, and my grad school student loans. And you'll notice on here, there's no credit card payments. And that's because basically I was taking money out of our spending money and our grocery money and just paying the minimum on our credit card at that point, and not like trying to pay it down, because we already had $2,800 of minimum payments and other payments, and it was just too much to figure out at that point how to pay down our credit cards. So that wasn't even, like, we weren't even trying to pay down our credit cards in 2018. It just wasn't even something that we were like putting in the budget at that point. So that's not great. Also, something to note with this budget, well, we had 2 car loans. Now we don't have any car loans, which is very nice, because you can see here, this was almost $1,000 of car payments we were paying every single month. And my husband's undergrad student loan is now paid off. So it feels so good to look at all this and be like, wow, this $1,200 of payments that we used to have every month, gone, never to be seen again. They're just done, and like we can use that towards making progress on our other debts. So with that said, these graduate school student loans, we were paying the minimums on it, and we were both on income-based repayment, and not one penny of that was going towards principal. It was all going towards interest. And I will show you a receipt right now. So I pulled this from Navient, which is my old federal student loan servicer. Okay, so you can see, this is just like part of my payments, but you can see here, of all the payments I made back here, all the way down, principal, nothing. Nothing went towards principal in all these payments. And then here, everything went towards interest. And that's it. That's it. It just was all going towards interest. Now we pay down principal on both those loans every single month, so that feels really good. So things have changed a lot since March of 2018, which is a great thing. Okay, let's take a look at our fixed expenses. So fixed expenses, we had our condo fee, our mortgage, life insurance, gym. We don't have gym anymore. Cable and internet, that's half the cost now because we got rid of cable. Utilities, it depends on the month, but that's pretty similar. It's a little bit lower on average. Car insurance is down to $94 now. Cell phone's definitely higher. Cell phone's like at $150 now. Subscriptions is only $10 a month now. Pet insurance, well, pet insurance went up to $55 because my cat keeps getting older. And cleaners, we don't have cleaners anymore. $200 a month. We don't spend that anymore. Cannot wait to get that back. That's like top of the priority list when we're debt free. Maybe even sooner, because I don't know how long we can go, but we used to pay $200 a month for cleaners, and now we just clean our house ourselves. And unexpected, $250. This is down to $50 now. So total for fixed expenses was $4,024. Now it's about, what do we usually spend in fixed? Now we spend about $2,500. So $1,500 less in the fixed expenses section. However, some of these fixed expenses we put in sinking funds now, and we didn't used to really do sinking funds. We would only do sinking funds for certain expenses, and that was my spending money, my husband's spending money, and groceries. And we would do mostly cash envelopes. My husband has his own checking account that he just transfers his spending money to every month. He still does that, and he used to do it back then too, because he doesn't like using cash, but I really liked cash for a while for my spending money and for groceries, so I just take the cash out every month, or every week I think I would take cash out for myself and for groceries, and then put it in an envelope and spend that as needed to try to stay on budget. And that's the only sinking funds we did, and we didn't have any sort of like spreadsheet for it. It was just in cash and in our budget. So but they are more like sinking funds than fixed expenses, so I put it in this sinking fund section of this budget spreadsheet. Okay, so groceries, we would spend $750 on groceries. That's actually better than we spend now. Right now we spend closer to $1,000, but we do have an extra person in the house, so you know, I think we were pretty good on groceries before. But this is like honestly embarrassing to show you guys. This is how much we had for spending money. Well, there's a couple caveats to this. So we would each get $750 a month. Well, I don't know if that was every single month. Okay, I just looked back for all the other months of 2018, and we would actually get usually $600 a month each, and $750 on months where there was a 5th week in the month. And so this must have been a month where there was a 5th week on the day that we would pay ourselves. So we would get $150 a week for spending money. Now we get like $200 for the whole month each. However, this did include gas, and so we each would spend probably $150 to $200 each on gas every single month. And so like, let's say it was a normal month where we get $600, we'd spend $150 on gas. That would really only be $450 that we get for actual spending money. So about $100 a week, a little more than $100 a week we'd each get for personal spending money. But that's still so much money compared to what we get now. And now our sinking funds actually, so the total here is $2,250 that would go towards these 3 expenditures that were like sinking funds. Now our total sinking funds is very similar. It's like $2,700. However, our sinking funds now, all of that, like, you know, $2,000 to $3,000 gets split between groceries, spending money, gas like I did here, but also expenses for my daughter, expenses for my cat, Christmas sinking fund, car fund, house fund, utilities, like so many other things fit into that same amount of money that used to just all go towards spending money. How did I spend $100 a week? Like, I used to get manicures every 2 weeks, manicures and pedicures. I would buy a ton of makeup and clothes. My husband would get takeout like every night pretty much. And so we would spend $750 on groceries, but then spend a ton of money on takeout too. And it was just the 2 of us, and like, we spent it. It's honestly not that hard to spend that much money, even though it seems like it if you're used to it. If you're in that phase right now, like, you know, it just goes. You know, you go out to dinner a couple times and you get a couple drinks and you leave a nice tip, and right there you're spending like $150. It's just, it's so easy to spend if you're in the spending mode. Now we like barely ever get takeout. Like, I think last month we got no takeout the whole month of September. So this is just a summary, obviously, because budgeted and actual were the same. It's not gonna look different, but just take a look visually at this pie chart right here. Like, it's 3% to pay yourself first, 30% to debt, 42% to fixed expenses, and like 24% towards sinking funds. This is September of 2021. 3% towards pay yourself first, 35% to debt. Before it was 30. Another spreadsheet was 30, and then about 60% of the money towards sinking funds and fixed expenses. So just visually going back and forth between the two, like, it's very, very similar. It's a higher percentage to debt. Like, in this budget, it was 30% in March 2018, and then in September, it's 35%. But it's very similar in the distribution. The major differences are our sinking funds, all of our spending money has been cut back, and that money is like dispersed between various sinking funds that we use for a lot of purposes. All our fixed expenses have been cut by about $1,500. Some of that's because we moved some of those to sinking funds, but some of it is because we cut back the miscellaneous category. We got rid of our cleaners, we cut our car bill down, we cut our electricity down, we cut our cable, like all these things that we cut back on. And then the other thing is our debt payments are just higher and we're paying less debts. So the money we're paying towards debt is actually going towards principal on every single one of our debts, and we've paid off a bunch of debts. So we're making a lot more progress a lot faster. So just goes to show you, this is like, you know, 3.5 years ago, how our budget looked, and a lot can change in 3.5 years. Like, honestly, a lot can change in 2 years. I know if you're in a bad financial situation, it feels so overwhelming, and it really is, but if you commit to just like a 1.5 or 2 years of changes, you can change your life. Like, you can turn the whole thing around. You don't have to commit to like 30 years of doing things differently. You just have to commit to like 18 months of making changes, and things can turn around. Because in March 2018, we hadn't really even committed. We committed to making changes in January of 2020. And by June of 2021, I was able to quit my job like 18 months later. And that was a job that I had wanted to quit for a long time. And we're still making progress on all our financial goals and all of our debt and everything. So this just shows you the power of a budget. This just shows you the power of like coming up with a plan, believing you can get your debt paid off, and making changes in your life. Like, it works. If you actually commit to it and commit to, okay, I am going to be different, I am going to make these changes, and have some tools and some guidance and educate yourself, you can make a big difference in your life and start moving towards the life that you want to live, not the life that you feel stuck in. So that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this comparison. I think it was super interesting to look back and see where we were just a few years ago. So I'm glad that I got this video request because I think it was a great one. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you like this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. It really helps out my channel. And like I said at the beginning of the video, if you want to use this spreadsheet for yourself for your own budgeting, I do have it available for purchase in my Etsy shop, which will be linked in the video description. And if you want to see more videos like this from me, watch us pay down our debt, get more financial tips and tricks for your own personal financial situation, then make sure you hit the red subscribe button down there. I'd love to have you as a subscriber, and I'll see you guys soon in my next video. Bye.